you and her were talking on the phone all the time like y'all were friends.
Never.
Yes, you
No,
were.
never.
You were trying to teach her how to respectfully cheat.
No, I was.
And I witnessed that.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, Melody.
You said I was trying to teach her how to
tell me when Martell gonna be over there.
cheat.
You were teaching her how to respectfully cheat, and she didn't listen.
With her own husband?
What? This is
That don't even
stupid.
make
Sometimes the loudest ending is not a screaming match. Sometimes it is a woman simply deciding that she has had enough. For years, viewers watched Martell Holt and Melody Shari build a life together, break it apart, and then continue dealing with the consequences in front of millions of people. Their marriage became one of the central stories of Love and Marriage Huntsville, but the fallout did not stop when the marriage ended. It moved into friendships, business relationships, social media, court battles, and the complicated world of reality television. And somewhere inside all of that was Destiny Payton, a woman who once stood close to Melody, but eventually found herself on the other side of one of the show's most painful friendship breakdowns. Now, with Melody having closed her chapter on Love and Marriage Huntsville after 9 seasons, the story feels different. Because the real question is no longer who won an argument. The real question is what everyone finally learned. Was Melody protecting her peace? Was Destiny trying to tell her side after feeling abandoned? And did Martell ever truly understand the damage caused by the choices that changed his family forever? This is where the story gets complicated, and this may be the final chapter nobody expected.
If I was teaching someone how to cheat with my husband, then that takes away all of the pain I ever felt, ever had, even that my ex admitted to, me crying in the closet, me being upset, me going through depression, me not eating. Then why would I have been doing all of that if I was okay with him cheating? Why the hell would he have even been apologizing if I was okay with him cheating? Doesn't make sense. I just feel like Destiny pulled one out her ugly big ass. She could have kept it in there.
The story of Martell and Melody did not begin with cameras, accusations, or broken friendships. It began much earlier, when the two were young, ambitious, and building a future together. They married in 2008 and eventually became parents to 4 children. When Love and Marriage Huntsville premiered, viewers were introduced to them as a successful couple, working, raising a family, and trying to build businesses while surrounded by other couples in Huntsville. But underneath that polished image were problems that would eventually become impossible to hide. The marriage began falling apart publicly after Martell acknowledged infidelity. Melody later explained that she had reached a point where she no longer believed he was changing. In a 2021 interview, she described certain conversations as the moment she realized she could not keep waiting for him to become the person she needed him to be.
I watched you talk to her. I saw y'all text message each other and inbox each other about when Martell was gonna be over there. Let me know.
Trying to teach her how
tell
to
me when Martell gonna be over there.
cheat?
Let me know when Martell gonna be over there.
No.
Let's be clear. So don't try to flip it and try to make it seem like.
So who fed you that, Martell?
No.
Because that's the only person I've
First of all-
ever heard say that bullshit.
Say what?
They was friends.
Martell,
They was friends.
I didn't know nothing about y'all
being
being friends, but I'm talking about the
with this
conversations.
hoe.
So all of this didn't happen?
You're telling me that I was okay with my ex-husband
Anybody?
cheating. And if that's the case, why would you be out here acting like you was a shoulder for me to cry on? Because I wouldn't be crying. I need you to go back to this. How did you come
When
to
I
a
told
conclusion?
you, why are you on the phone with this girl? Let's all black it and go whoop her ass. You were on the phone with her. You were
Okay.
messaging her and talking to her and telling her to tell you when Martell was coming to her house. Did that not happen?
So I could catch his ass cheating, so I could do what I did, so I could leave his ass? Is that what you're talking
And I
about?
told you
Because
that was
clear.
weird. I said I wouldn't dare talk to that bitch on the phone.
And that's okay if you felt like that. But you just sat at this table and
I
said
did.
that I tried to teach her how to
You
respectfully
did.
cheat with my ex-husband.
You did.
That's a lie.
Y'all had
I
multiple
can't play with
conversations.
That decision changed everything.
Eventually, Melody left the marriage, and the divorce became one of the most discussed storylines connected to the show. But what made the situation even more painful was that the breakup did not simply involve 2 adults walking away from one another. There were children involved, there was a shared history, there were businesses, there were friendships, and there was a television audience watching almost every emotional wound open in real time. Then came another revelation. Martell confirmed that the other woman he had been involved with was pregnant. Melody later explained her own version of how she discovered the pregnancy, saying that she confronted Martell after receiving information from a friend. She also said she had already left the marriage before learning about the pregnancy. For Melody, that news became confirmation that leaving had been the right decision. For viewers, it became the moment when the story stopped looking like a normal relationship problem and started looking like a complete collapse of a family structure. But here's where everything changed. Melody did not disappear. She rebuilt. She continued working. She continued raising her children. She developed her own identity outside of being Martell's wife. And eventually, the woman viewers had first met as Melody Holt became Melody Shari. That transformation mattered because the story was no longer simply about what Martell had done. It became about what Melody would do next. And that is where Destiny enters the picture.
I'm not going to sit on the phone with a woman that I know is cheating with my man. I'm just not going to do that. Watching them interact, watching them have conversations is like watching her teach this woman how she wants them to operate. And I said that to her. I just really can't sit in a room with someone that will lie to my face.
Destiny Payton was once presented as a friend within Melody's circle. Their connection seemed natural because they shared several experiences. Both were mothers, both were businesswomen, both were dealing with divorce and the complicated pressure that comes with trying to rebuild a life while people are watching. Destiny later described their friendship as something deeply personal. She recalled spending time with Melody, running errands together, having their children around, and trying to figure out life as women who were facing similar challenges. For a while, it looked like the kind of friendship that reality television rarely allows people to keep. But reality television has a strange way of turning private tension into public evidence. Eventually, Melody and Destiny's friendship began to crack, and the disagreement was not simply about one phone call or one argument. It was about trust.
Destiny felt there were things Melody believed she should have known. Melody felt Destiny had crossed boundaries and had become connected to people and situations that made her uncomfortable. One of the biggest points of tension involved Destiny's continued interactions with Martell and people connected to him. That became especially complicated because Melody's relationship with Martell was no longer just about two former spouses. There were years of hurt behind it, there were children between them, and there were boundaries that Melody expected the people close to her to understand. Destiny eventually explained that she never intended to betray Melody, but she also felt that Melody had not clearly communicated everything she was feeling before the friendship deteriorated. That difference in perspective is important because one woman believed the other should have understood, the other believed she should have been told, and somewhere between those two positions, a friendship disappeared. Destiny later spoke openly about the fallout and became emotional while discussing what the friendship had meant to her. She said that, looking back, she might have behaved differently if she had fully understood what Melody was experiencing at the time. That is the painful part of friendships like this. Sometimes there is no single moment where everything dies. Sometimes the relationship simply becomes too heavy to carry. But Melody's story was moving in another direction. As the seasons continued, she became increasingly focused on protecting her own identity. She had already survived the collapse of her marriage. She had already learned what it meant to have personal problems become public entertainment, and eventually, she made a decision that shocked many viewers. She left the show. In January 2025, Melody announced that her chapter with Love and Marriage Huntsville was coming to an end after 9 seasons. She described the experience as one that had brought opportunities beyond her dreams, while also teaching her difficult lessons about relationships, friendships, and life. That announcement changed the meaning of everything that came before it. Because for years, viewers had wondered whether Melody would continue fighting, explaining, defending, responding, and participating in the same environment that had introduced her to the world. Instead, she walked away. And sometimes, walking away says more than any reunion argument ever could.
But what about Martell? His journey has been just as complicated. The public history of his marriage to Melody is inseparable from the choices he made during their relationship. Martell admitted to cheating, and the subject remained part of the story long after the divorce. Melody publicly questioned whether he had actually changed, including after reports connected him romantically to other women. For Martell, moving forward meant trying to exist separately from the woman whose story had become so closely tied to his own. But that is easier said than done. When two people share children, history, businesses, and a television franchise, the past does not simply disappear because the marriage certificate is no longer relevant. Every new relationship can reopen an old conversation. Every interview can become another headline. Every social media post can be interpreted as a message, and every disagreement can become entertainment for people who have never lived the life being discussed. That is why the Martell and Melody story has remained so emotionally charged. It is not just about an ex-husband and an ex-wife. It is about two people trying to create separate identities while still being connected by the responsibilities of family. And Destiny's story became another reminder of how complicated those connections can become. What makes Destiny's situation particularly interesting is that she was not simply an outsider commenting on Melody's life. She had been inside the circle. She knew Melody. She knew Martell. She knew what it felt like to be part of that world. And eventually, she found herself explaining why she believed the friendship ended. In a later interview, Destiny also discussed a different painful chapter involving her former producer and her ex-husband, describing how she felt manipulated and how difficult it was to process what had happened. She also spoke about the deterioration of her friendship with Melody and gave her perspective on the conflict. That matters because Destiny's story shows something viewers sometimes forget. Reality television does not create every wound, but it can make those wounds impossible to hide. A disagreement that might have remained between two friends can become a storyline. A private conversation can become a reunion question. A misunderstanding can become a social media debate, and suddenly everyone has an opinion. That pressure can destroy relationships that might have survived in private. But here's the twist. Even after all the arguments, accusations, and emotional moments, there is still one thing none of them can change. The past happened. Melody cannot erase the years she spent married to Martell. Martell cannot erase the choices that damaged the marriage. Destiny cannot erase the moments when her friendship with Melody became strained, and the audience cannot unsee what happened after the cameras turned on. The final chapter, then, is not really about proving that one person was completely right and another person was completely wrong. It is about understanding why each person reached a point where they had to make a choice. Melody chose distance. Destiny chose to speak. Martell continued trying to navigate life after the marriage, and the children remained at the center of everything. That last part is perhaps the most important, because adults can argue, adults can block each other, adults can stop being friends, adults can walk away from reality television, but children still have to live with the consequences of what their parents went through. Melody has spoken about helping her children adjust to their parents no longer being together and reminding them that they were loved by both parents. That changes the way we should look at this entire story. Behind every headline is a family. Behind every reunion argument is a person who still has to go home. Behind every social media post is somebody's real life. And behind every reality television storyline are consequences that do not disappear when an episode ends. This is also why Melody's decision to leave the show carries so much weight. She was not walking away because she had nothing left to say. If anything, she had already said enough. For years, she had explained her pain. She had defended her decisions. She had answered questions about her marriage. She had dealt with public criticism. She had watched friendships change, and she had continued building a life outside the identity viewers originally knew. So perhaps the most powerful thing she could do was stop explaining.
Destiny's journey tells a different story. She remains connected to the franchise and continued discussing her own experiences. She has spoken about friendship, betrayal, manipulation, divorce, and the struggle of telling her own story when other people are already telling it for her. And maybe that is why her conflict with Melody still matters. Because friendship breakups can hurt just as much as romantic breakups, sometimes even more. A romantic relationship ends and people expect you to move on. But when a friendship ends, you are left asking different questions. Did they ever really understand me? Did I misunderstand them? Could I have done something differently? Was the friendship real? Was the problem one moment, or had it been building for years? Destiny has offered her answers, Melody has offered hers, and viewers have had to decide what they believe. But there is another lesson here. Not every relationship needs a reunion. Not every conflict needs another confrontation. Not every unanswered question needs another season. Sometimes, closure is simply accepting that two people can remember the same relationship differently. That does not automatically make one person a liar. It means human relationships are complicated. Martell and Melody experienced the same marriage, but they did not experience it in the same way. Melody and Destiny experienced the same friendship, but they did not experience its ending in the same way. And that is the truth hiding underneath all the drama. Everybody has their own version of the moment when everything changed. For Melody, it was realizing that she could not continue waiting for someone else to change. For Destiny, it was realizing that a friendship she valued had become something she could no longer hold on to. For Martell, it was being forced to live with the consequences of choices that could not be undone. And for the audience, it was watching all three stories collide. Now, Melody has closed her chapter with Love and Marriage Huntsville. That does not erase her history. It does not erase Martell.
It does not erase Destiny, and it certainly does not erase the years of television that brought all of this into people's homes, but it does create something new, a boundary, a line between the life she once lived and the life she wants to build. And perhaps that is what this final chapter is really about. Not revenge, not another explosive reunion, not another secret meeting, not another dramatic phone call. Freedom. Because sometimes the greatest victory is not getting the last word. It is reaching a place where you no longer need to. Melody does not need Martell to validate her decision. Destiny does not need Melody to validate her pain. Martell does not need to rewrite the past to move forward. Each person has to carry their own choices, and maybe that is where the truth finally becomes clear. The truth is not always one shocking revelation. Sometimes the truth is a collection of consequences. A marriage ended, a friendship broke, a family had to adjust, a television chapter closed, and 3 people were forced to discover who they were after the roles they once played stopped defining them. Melody was once known as Martell's wife. Destiny was once known as Melody's friend. Martell was once half of one of reality television's most talked about marriages. But those labels are no longer enough. They're people beyond the cameras, people who have made mistakes, people who have been hurt, people who have defended themselves, people who have tried to rebuild, and people who still have to wake up tomorrow and live with everything that happened yesterday. That is why the ending feels so different now. The cameras may continue somewhere else. The franchise may continue telling new stories. The audience may move on to another scandal. But for Melody, the decision to close her chapter may be the beginning of something much quieter, something without constant explanations. Something without having to relive the same argument. Something where her children can see their mother choosing herself while still carrying the responsibilities of motherhood. And perhaps Destiny's greatest lesson is similar. Sometimes losing a friendship teaches you what you need from the next one. Sometimes betrayal teaches you boundaries. Sometimes public pain forces you to become more honest with yourself. And sometimes the person you thought would stand beside you simply becomes part of the lesson. As for Martell, his final chapter is still his to write. the past cannot be changed, but what happens next is always a choice. And that may be the hardest truth of all, because nobody can edit real life. There is no producer who can yell cut. There is no reunion host who can give everyone another chance to explain. There is no camera crew that can capture every private conversation. There is only what happened, what was said, what was felt, and what each person chooses to do with the aftermath. So maybe this is not the end of the story. Maybe it is the end of one version of it, the version where Melody, Martell, and Destiny were constantly pulled into the same storm. The next chapter belongs to the lives they build outside of it. And if there is one thing this entire journey teaches us, it is this: you can love someone and still leave them. You can care about a friend and still outgrow the friendship. You can make mistakes and still choose to become better. And sometimes, after years of noise, the strongest statement is silence. Melody has already made hers. Now the question is what Martell and Destiny will do with theirs, because the cameras may have captured the drama, but only time will reveal what the truth really changed.